John McMillan, a seasoned landlord in New Jersey, had been renting out apartments for nearly 15 years. Over time, he had dealt with various tenants, most of whom were reasonable and law-abiding. However, his experience with a particular tenant, Kevin Hargrove, would turn out to be the most frustrating chapter in his career. It all started when Kevin moved into one of John's two-bedroom apartments. A recent graduate, Kevin seemed like a decent guy on paper: good credit score, a stable job as a junior accountant, and a clean background check. But shortly after moving in, Kevin started exhibiting troubling behavior. He would play loud music late at night, park in unauthorized spots, and leave trash outside his door. The other tenants complained, and John, as a responsible landlord, sent Kevin several written warnings. Initially, Kevin complied, but after a month, his disruptive behavior returned. To make matters worse, he began delaying rent payments. John remained patient, sending reminders and requesting meetings to discuss the situation. Kevin always had excuses: the bank delayed my paycheck, I had a family emergency, and the online rent payment system isn't working for me. But it soon became clear that Kevin was intentionally playing games. Things escalated when Kevin outright refused to pay rent for 2 months, claiming that the apartment had unaddressed issues. According to him, the heating system wasn't working, and there was mold in the bathroom. John, confused because no such complaints had been made earlier, immediately sent a contractor to investigate. The contractor reported that there was no mold, and the heating system was functioning perfectly. Kevin's refusal to pay rent continued. John was left with no choice but to initiate the eviction process in New Jersey. Like many states, the eviction process can be lengthy and complex. It requires formal notices, court appearances, and a great deal of patience. John sent Kevin a formal notice to quit, which gave him 30 days to vacate the premises or pay the overdue rent. Kevin ignored it. Frustrated, John hired a lawyer and filed an eviction lawsuit. When the court date arrived, Kevin appeared, ready with a long list of complaints about the apartment. He argued that he shouldn't have to pay rent because John had failed to maintain the property adequately. Kevin's defense was weak. His complaints were either fabricated or exaggerated, but it bought him time. The court granted Kevin an additional 30 days to move out, and he continued to live rent-free during this period. John felt the financial strain. He still had to pay for the apartment's maintenance, utilities, and mortgage, but with no income from Kevin, the expenses were piling up. Determined to see this through, John continued his legal pursuit. After several court hearings and delay tactics from Kevin, the judge finally ruled in John's favor. Kevin was given a strict 14-day deadline to vacate the apartment. If he didn't leave voluntarily, John could request a sheriff's eviction, which would force Kevin out. As the eviction date approached, Kevin became increasingly hostile. He left the apartment in a mess: holes in the walls, broken furniture, and garbage everywhere. On the day of the eviction, Kevin was forcibly removed from the property by the sheriff. John, despite the victory, was left with significant repair costs. It took John weeks to restore the apartment to its former condition. The experience with Kevin made him reevaluate his tenant screening process, but it also left him more cautious about how he handled difficult situations. He had learned that the legal system, while fair, often allowed tenants like Kevin to exploit loopholes and delay the inevitable. This experience served as a cautionary tale for landlords across the country. John's battle with a stubborn tenant highlighted the challenges of property management in the USA, where laws protect both tenants and landlords but can sometimes skew in favor of the tenant. For John, it was a hard lesson learned in patience, resilience, and the importance of thoroughly vetting future tenants to avoid another Kevin Hargrove situation. Property and facility management perspective. From a property and facility management standpoint, John McMillan, the landlord, was initially diligent. He ensured his property was in good condition and responded promptly to complaints by sending a contractor to investigate Kevin's claims. However, John faced the common challenge of dealing with a difficult tenant. The balance between maintaining property standards and handling tenant behavior was tested. One key takeaway is that regular inspections and documentation of property conditions could have helped John avoid disputes. If he had maintained a more rigorous schedule of inspections, he could have anticipated or refuted Kevin's claims of the faulty heating system and mold more effectively. Additionally, a solid system for following up on complaints, logging communication with tenants, and staying on top of rent collections would have strengthened his position during the legal process. Moral perspective. Morally, this story highlights a dilemma between patience and firmness in handling conflict. John was initially very patient with Kevin, giving him multiple chances to correct his behavior and settle the rent issue amicably. However, Kevin took advantage of this patience, manipulating the situation to prolong his stay without paying rent and creating a toxic environment for other tenants. The moral lesson for landlords is to balance empathy with enforcement. While it's important to understand tenants' difficulties and show compassion, landlords must also be firm when tenants become disruptive or exploit the system. In this case, Kevin's dishonest behavior and refusal to communicate in good faith demonstrated that not all tenants will act responsibly or respectfully. Legal perspective. Legally, John followed the right procedures, filing a notice to quit and eventually taking the matter to court. However, the story illustrates the complexity of landlord-tenant law in the USA, especially in tenant-friendly states like New Jersey. Tenants are often protected by laws that give them significant leeway during disputes, and evictions can be delayed by months due to court procedures. John's experience reveals the importance of understanding local eviction laws and being prepared for the legal hurdles landlords might face. In many states, landlords cannot simply remove a tenant without court involvement, even if the tenant is clearly in the wrong. Kevin used legal loopholes, such as making false maintenance claims, to extend his stay rent-free, showing that a strong legal strategy and proper documentation are crucial. Lessons learned. Screen tenants carefully. One of the most important lessons John learned was the need for thorough tenant screening. While Kevin seemed like a good tenant on paper, John could have investigated further by checking references from previous landlords or verifying his behavior as a renter. Document everything. Proper documentation is critical for landlords. John's case would have been easier if he had a comprehensive record of maintenance requests, repairs, and tenant interactions. This would have helped refute Kevin's claims and made the court process smoother. Know the law. Landlords must be well versed in local landlord-tenant laws. Having a clear understanding of eviction procedures, tenant rights, and how to respond to legal disputes is essential. John's experience underscores how legal protections for tenants can be used to delay evictions, meaning landlords need to be proactive and prepared for such situations. Be firm early on. While showing empathy is important, landlords should address tenant issues firmly and early on to prevent minor problems from escalating. By being more assertive with Kevin's initial disruptive behavior and late payments, John might have resolved the situation before it became a prolonged legal battle. Insurance and contingency planning. The financial strain John experienced during the non-payment period serves as a reminder to landlords to have a financial safety net or landlord insurance that can cover unexpected losses due to tenant disputes or property damage. In summary, John's story is a classic example of the challenges property managers and landlords face in dealing with difficult tenants. By approaching these challenges with the right balance of patience, documentation, and legal understanding, landlords can better protect themselves and their properties. If you find this story enlightened, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel for more content on property, facility, and real estate management business tips. Thank you for watching. See you in my next video. God bless you.